Hello and welcome to the Combat Carper vlog number 3, and this time you join us at Villefond in France. Here my good friends Matty and Rich, and we're here for a week-long holiday session. Villefond's about 8 acres in size, and it's got a fantastic stock of big fish. Most notably is an 82-pound mirror and a 65-pound common swimming around this lake, and that is our target for the week. We arrived yesterday, got everything set up sort of mid-afternoon, had a lovely dinner with the owners, and we got set up for the night. We're off to a cracking start on the first morning. I've got what looks like a low 20 in the net, so let's get him out and have a look at him. And there we go, there's the first fish, 22 and 10 ounces. Cracking start to our week-long holiday here at Villefond. Came on a combi-rig, which is not a rig that I normally use much in the UK, but it's a perfect rig for use in a bait boat due to the stiff boom. We will talk about the rigs a little bit later on, but for now I'm going to get a couple of snaps and put this fish back. What a great result that was, getting the first bite. Lovely clean 22 pounds and however many ounces it was, mirror to start us off. It's always nervy getting that first bite on the holiday menu. Can't think of many things worse than going for a week-long holiday and having a blank, so to get the first one is very, very encouraging. It gives us something to build on. Kept things reasonably light last night. You know, we were all a little bit tired when we got here, and there wasn't really many fish showing. We saw a couple of patches of bubbles, so stoving baiting would have been a massive, massive mistake, and you kind of worry what's been put out there from the previous week. I know the guys last week struggled, and when that happens on venues, especially when they're using bait boats, you tend to find that there's little piles of bait dotted all over the lake, and you have to wait for sort of the fish to clear it up before they get into your sort of zone. And I'll definitely only be fishing the 2 areas while I'm out here. I've got one area which has got 2 rods on it, and another rod just slightly further down to the left hand side. And like I said, I kept it reasonably light, to probably put, I don't know, a kilo maximum over each rod. I'll talk about the bait and the rigs we used a little bit later on, but it got us the first bite, and I've just reset them now. I'm not expecting much to happen during the day. It's a glorious, glorious day here in France. I think it's going to be close to 20 degrees today, and I'm fishing in relatively deep water. It's about sort of 9 feet, so if I get everything reset now, all the disturbances out of the way, and then we'll be good to go for the evening and the morning. So yeah, up and running. Let's see how we get on for the remainder of the day and the remainder of the week. I'll catch up with you guys in a little while. Okay, so I'm just going to cover the bait that I'm using here in Villefond, and it's the mix that I use in England, and I'd use it on any lake anywhere in the world. I've got nothing but confidence in the boilie, the particle, the pellet I use, and it's not even a thought when it goes into the lake, because I know it will work. A lot of anglers seem to try and find excuses for bait being the issue when they're not catching, but I've got nothing but confidence in this bait. So we've got a mix of both the S7 and the Bug. I like to combine the boilies. They're just a completely different flavour, and they just work so well together. The S7 is a krill-based boilie, and the Bug an insect meal boilie, and it's done me nothing but great results since I've started using both, and I absolutely love the pair of them when work together. But what I have done is wash them out in just lake water, and also using the liquid food, and what that does is it will really help to soften the boilies. Now DNA's boilies are so soft, even in shelf life. They're absolutely incredible, but it just helps to give the boilies a washed out appearance when they go into the lake, and especially with a tricky lake like this, it can make the bait look like it's been there for a lot longer than it actually has. So that's an absolute edge, and I absolutely love using the liquid food. I go through absolutely gallons of it. And then we've also got some maize and hemp here. This is from Carbon Baits. It's absolutely top quality. It's such a good bait, and I go through kilos and kilos and kilos of this. It's an absolutely fantastic bait. Then once it goes into the boat, what I like to do is crumb the boilies up, so it's almost like a ground bait pulp. I don't want too many whole items this stage of the week, and then I absolutely lather it in the Bug Spod. It's such a heavy liquid, and it really helps to sink on the lake bed, so when the fish are sifting around, they're always getting that smell of the bait when it's down there. So yeah, that's the mix. It's done me well so far this week, and I've been using it for years, and I'll continue to use it for as long as I go fishing, I guess, and I've got nothing but the utmost confidence in it. Well, good afternoon. Had a bit of a bite out of the blue. Just sat there debating gravy, Matty and Rich, when the right hander pulled up tight. We've got ourselves a 25 and 2 ounce common. Was not expecting a bite during the day today, but I'm certainly happy that one went off. Gonna get a couple of photos and put this bad boy back, get the rods back on the spot because it managed to tangle itself around all the lines. So redo everything, set for the night. Good times in France.
Monday morning now, it's just gone 8 o'clock and the middle rod is just absolutely torn off. Quite a quiet night, there wasn't really much showing around the lake, it was a very, very still night. Then the wind picked up about 6 o'clock and with it that really stirred the fish into life and they started jumping around everywhere again. And the middle rod tanked off. Ooh, with this bad boy. 28 pounds and 11 ounces. We're slowly going in the right direction, a few pounds at a time. I'm sure it won't be long till we finally manage to get into some of the 30s, 40s and hopefully 50 pluses that are in this lake, but I'm absolutely thrilled to bits with this one. Incredibly powerful fish, big frame on it, gave me a hell of a fight. Managed to wrap itself around the right hand rod, which got me in the right 2 and 3, but we got him in safely. We're going to get a few snaps done and get him back.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the rig that I'm using here in France, and it's a rig that I use whenever I'm fishing with a bait boat, and that is a combi rig. And I don't really use this much in the UK, and there's no real reason for it because it's an absolutely fantastic hooker of fish. It combines a stiff boom with a nice supple hook link section, which allows the hook to always turn really, really aggressively in the carp's mouth. And the reason I like to use it when I'm fishing with a bait boat is when you open the hopper doors, you don't feel the lead down how you conventionally do when you're casting, because that will cause the hook link to swing away from your baited patch. So you want something that when you drop the lead out of the boat, it's just going to fall down and naturally lay flat. And using these two materials, it works absolutely fantastically for that. We've got 25 pound of quarter boom there, and that's about 6 inches of that's crimped. And then we have about a 2-inch section of 30 pound armour cord, and what that does is it gives a nice supple section to allow the hook to move and rotate into the fish's mouth when it's going to catch hold. I have a small liner just on the end of the hook there, always like to have a kicker whenever I can. And then it's just a hook bead and a ring swivel. Hook bait wise, we've got a PB Wafter topped with a 10mm, or sorry, half of a 10mm PB pop-up, and that absolutely critically balances the hook bait to allow the hook just to be cocked in a natural position like that, so they will absolutely fly into the fish's mouth. And like I said, I've had some absolutely brilliant hook holds. So let's have a look at how we tie it. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is going to cut yourself off about 8 inches of boom. I've got this in the 25-pound version. It suits me just fine for all of my needs. Now the boom's only going to be 6 inches in length, but I like to give myself plenty of room to work with when I'm tying and cutting the crimps. These are the small crimps, the 0.6 ones. It's a bit fiddly, especially when you've got hands like mine. Through one end, through the other. I'm going to give myself plenty of room to work with and crimp that down. Make sure it's fully centered. There we go. Light push. And now apply the other end. Okay, there we go. Now I want the rig to be 6 inches in length, the boom to be 6 inches in length. So just measure that out a tiny bit longer. Okay, absolutely perfect. So I'm just going to cut off the excess after I've crimped this end. I'm going to leave myself approximately 4 to 5 mil. Just in case there's any slippage. Now at this stage I always like to test the crimp to make sure I've done it right. You don't need to pull this to destruction, just give it a nice firm pull and there shouldn't be any slips. Pull of that. Yep, no slip, that's absolutely perfect. Okay, so that's the boom done, so we can put that to the side now. And the next thing you need to do is get some uncoated braid. I like to use the 30-pound arm cord for this job, and I'm going to cut off about 7 inches. You're not going to use anything like that much, but once again it gives yourself plenty of room to work with. And once you've cut it off, I'm going to get the 2 tag ends together and pull it straight so you've got a loop at the top. Hook wise, I always like to use nice big hooks. These are the size 4/4 wide gapes, and it's an absolutely brilliant hook. You know, I'll never be convinced to use small hooks. You know, big hooks and big leads just absolutely nails them. And again, you'll never convince me to use a smaller hook, especially when I'm playing big fish like we've got here in Villefond. They go up to 80 pounds, so I don't want to be thinking, oh, I've got a tiny little hook in that fish's mouth, because if I lost it, I'd never forgive myself. So you're now going to pass the loop through the eye of the hook towards the hook point. And once that's pulled through, you can place it on the rig board at about 2 inches and pull the eye down to 0. So you've now got 2 inches of uncoated braid there. Pinch that down so you've got the 2 tag ends at the back, and you're now going to pass this around the shank of the hook 3 times. You only need to go 3 times because it's doubled over, so it's effectively been round the hook 6 times. This is the fiddly bit. You now need to pass it back through the eye of the hook again. Oh, first time wasn't that lucky. Pull that tight and you should have approximately 1 inch of uncoated braid. Absolutely perfect. So now I'm going to cut off these 2 tag ends. And there we go. That is the uncoated section now almost finished. All we need to do now is put a small liner on. Save messing around. I always use a baiting needle for this job. Just saves you so much time and effort. Just pull it down the braided section there, over your hook, and there we go. Last couple of bits now. You're going to pass it through one of your loops on your boom and just pass the braid over the top of the hook. This is a little bit fiddly. Make sure we don't catch it. There we go. There are multiple different ways to tie this. This is just the way that I prefer doing it. A lot of the ways you end up with like a slip D presentation. It obviously works very, very well, but this is my preferred way of doing it. And finally, all you need to do is apply a hook bead and a ring swivel. So ring swivel on. And finally a hook bead. Now you want to place the hook bead all the way round until it's approximately in line with the barb on the hook. And the last thing to do is apply your bait. And for this, I've got a large PB Wafter there, topped with half of a 10mm PB pop-up. And as I was saying earlier, it perfectly critically balances the rig so the hook sits in a cocked position. And the last little bit, I've just got a tail rubber there, just to push the rig away when it's applied to the inline setup. And that's it. That's the combi rig, and it's done us well so far this trip. And I've absolutely no doubt it's going to work well for the remainder of the session, and I'll use this whenever I'm using a bait boat. It's served me well for many, many years. Morning guys, it's Tuesday morning now, and it's been a very, very quiet 24 hours for me. The weather has completely changed from what we had on Sunday. It was absolutely miserable yesterday, driving rain and wind, and you know, for most sort of fish in the UK the conditions would be perfect, but on this lake especially, they like settled weather, and it's been all over the place. It's nice and calm again today. There'll be a little bit of sun, and then tomorrow we've got gusting 40-mile-an-hour winds and driving rain again. So it could make things pretty tricky for us going forward, but it's been a bit of good news. Both Matty and Rich have now caught. Matty had an absolutely gorgeous 29-pound common yesterday evening, and Rich managed a just over 40-pound mirror this morning. Absolute belter, that one. Huge, huge frame. We thought it was a little bit bigger than what it was, but he's absolutely made up with that. So we're all off the mark now, which is good. Yeah, I'm certainly going to keep doing what I've been doing. I've got baited spots on a shallower area. I say shallower, and it's sort of 8 feet surrounded by 10 feet of water. I've got 2 rods on that, and that's what's done me the 3 fish. And I've got a rod down to my left hand margin where most of the fish have been showing in the late evenings and early mornings, and they sort of tend to just sort of disappear off the radar. They can't be found for love or money. So yeah, I'm going to persevere and see how we get on for the remainder of today. Hopefully the next time I see you will be with a nice fat 50 or something better, but yeah, quite happy to just be enjoying a nice relaxing week here in France. Good morning guys, it's now Wednesday morning, and yet another 24 hours has passed with absolutely no action for myself. Rich and Matt have managed to pick up another fish each, which is really, really good, but it's been a bit of a head scratcher this one. Conditions have been, you know, in the UK absolutely bang on. We've had some really strong wind, pressure is reasonably low, and conditions look really, really good for them having a bit of a feed up. But the lake owners have told us that they really need a good week of warm weather to switch on after winter, and you know, we've not really had that. We've really been scratching for bites.
So I think given the conditions we've got today, it's going to really pick up and be windy once again, but it's also going to be quite sunny. I'm going to fish with 3 Zigs. I can't seem to even nick a bite on the bottom at the minute, and I'm not going to carry on hoping that that's going to be the way, because we're still seeing the odd fish in the area that I'm in, but they're certainly not feeding with gusto. So going to Zigs could well be the ticket that gets us out of a bit of trouble. But today we're going to wind in, head up the shops. It's Rich's birthday. We're going to get a cake, have a few drinks this afternoon before we start fishing again. So have to take a bit of a break, recock, get my head back into gear, and then we'll get back on it this evening. But for now, thankfully the sun's out. It was absolutely driving wind and rain last night. It was pretty miserable. We were all hankered down in the bivvies, so we're going to dry some kit out and yeah, head up to the supermarket, get some supplies and enjoy the afternoon for Rich's birthday.
Ooh. That's naughty, that.
Matty on roast potatoes, go.
Roast potatoes and fish.
You have roast potatoes, yeah, you just don't have them swimming in gravy.
What's wrong with gravy? You're a racist.
Nothing wrong with
you
gravy.
are a gravy racist.
You just have them on, you just have the gravy on your chicken.
You are a gravy racist.
You don't have in gravy in your roast like a soup.
What's
You're gonna
not
have a
soup? It's
soup.
gravy.
It's not. If you're going to pour a load of gravy on it, it becomes a soup.
What defines soup?
Covered in gravy.
No, what defines soup?
What do you mean what defines a soup?
What is soup?
Well, the soup's liquid, isn't it? With things in it, like
Yeah.
bits of chicken.
What's gravy?
Liquid with things in it, like chicken.
No.
It is.
No.
It is.
No,
if you
because
put a ton of it on.
Gravy's passed, so it hasn't got things in it.
But you're adding the gravy to it though, then it becomes a soup.
Which dissolves.
Your chicken, what, you're telling me you add the gravy, your chicken dissolves in the
Yeah,
gravy?
because you passed it, so there's no bits left in.
I'm on about when it's on the plate.
Yes, there's no bits in it.
Yeah, but when you put the gravy over it,
So the gravy isn't a soup.
so when you put the gravy on your plate, yeah, you put it on your chicken, that's it. If you add loads of it, so basically your food's nearly swimming, it becomes a soup.
So don't you put your gravy on your veg?
No.
Roast
What?
potatoes?
No. Because you're taking the flavour away from the roast potato.
Well, it adds to it. Like,
No,
like curry, like chicken
Well, you might as well
curry.
just, hold on. Come here, love. Just give us a fucking cup of gravy, I'll eat that. I'll drink that. Because that's what you're going to taste. So what you're going to taste? This is gravy. You're not going to taste anything else.
Same as a curry,
How was your
though, isn't it?
chicken? How was your chicken? Yeah, it tasted gravy. Cheers for that. What do you mean curry?
You put sauce on a
Exactly.
chicken or a...
Your curry is essentially a soup, based on what
It's
you've
not,
just
is
said.
it? Because-
How is it any different?
Well, you make some weird fucking curries, and if it's
How's it
all
any
liquid,
different?
'cause it's got
You're
cream
pouring
in that, innit?
liquid on a load of things, which then
It's not
floats.
liquid, it's a cream. It's a mixed cream that soaks into the chicken, and you've got the
Alright.
flavour there.
It's a
So
bit-
you
it's a
marinate.
bit-
Hold on.
It's a bit thicker than gravy.
So you're
that's all.
marinating your chicken in the curry, aren't you? You don't marinate your fucking roast dinner in the gravy.
I do. You, John.
Absolutely.
Well, then it becomes a soup or a curry roast. Then we'll have a curry roast, gravy
Don't you
curry.
like soggy Yorkshire puddings with onion gravy?
Oh, why the
Maybe,
I want them crispy.
maybe a bit of mash in it as well.
No.
Have you ever had a Yorkshire pudding wrap with beef in, Rich? I bet you have.
Yeah.
With nice gravy down the middle.
Tell you what they're doing.
Imagine like a wrap, Matt, right? You
A
then
wrap?
put beef in. Yeah, imagine a wrap, but it's a Yorkshire pudding.
Oh, I've seen
You
it,
then
the
put
big
beef
cup, the
in,
big
and then you
roast.
put a load of gravy and you just bite into it, it just oozes out.
That's just freaking weird. Isn't it?
We have them as starters, Yorkshires. With onion gravy,
You're northern. That's just weird.
and they're beautiful.
You keep calling dinner tea, so
tell you
you're
what,
trying
they're
to be northern.
Toby Carper in Eden.
Toby Pikery.
They're doing a breakfast, full breakfast, and you get
You go to Toby Carper.
you get Yorkshire puddings for
Been
breakfast.
No wonder you're fucking bunged up, mate, all the time. You keep going to Toby Pikery.
With mushy peas.
Very
Oh,
opinionated on gravy, Matt.
Not opinionated. Just know it.
From what you've said, you don't know anything about gravy.
I know. I don't know how to be, but I know that you don't shove it all on your roast to make it a soup. Fair enough. You may know how
It'd
to
be a
cook
soup
it.
if you put it in a blender.
wouldn't be, no, would it? So a chicken soup, yeah, you'd make your soup and then shove your chicken in and then you
that's
cut it all up.
that's a soup.
So why come when I've had chicken soup, you have lumps of chicken in it then? What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? But
then it's, there you go.
if a Sunday dinner or a soup, you'd be putting it in a blender, wouldn't you?
No.
You're just adding some sauces with it.
You wouldn't put it in a blender, would you? Why would you put your...
It's an idea that, John, isn't it?
Why would you put your soup in a blender?
Some Sunday roast.
More room on your plate for gravy.
You're just weird. You're just weirdos.
Well, the drought is finally over. I've waited 4.5 days and we finally got a fish on the bank, and it's worth the wait, as you'll see in a minute. Rich has just landed, personal best is 56 pounds and 14 ounces. Got some absolutely wicked photos. That was also had a couple more. Matty's down the bank, he's into one, and not long after I landed this, I also foul hooked one in the tail. So finally, after a long hard days, it looks like they're finally kicking into gear. And check him out. 46 pounds and 6 ounces. Worth every second of the wait. I mean, I was close to calling it a day and going home tomorrow morning because he just looked absolutely lifeless in front of my swim. But we've finally got one of the bigger fish here. And hopefully there's gonna be a couple more, but I'm absolutely thrilled to bits with this. As you can see from the smile on my face. Yeah. And here we are, Rich. He's got himself a 56 pound, 14 ounce personal best. Well then, Rich, how do you feel about that bad boy? Smash your PB by what, 9 pound? He can't even hold it. There swims 61 pound, and who cares how many ounces of big common carp. Matty, you absolute hero. Huge. You absolute hero. Here is the second of the double take, and nowhere near as big as we thought they were going to go. Literally every fish we picked up has gained 10 pound in the net, but 23 pound and a few ounces. But that's number 6 in the net, and it's been a good morale boost after so many days of just slogging it, sitting it there, hoping it would happen. So yeah, well happy with this bad boy. So we're going to get a couple of photos, try and dry off, see what else we can do. We've probably got one more good bite window left in this evening before we have to get ready to head home tomorrow. Turn up for the books. Got an absolute chunky beast of a common just after 11 o'clock. Look at him, 35 pound and 12 ounces. That makes it number 19 for the team and 7 for me. Absolutely thrilled to bits with the numbers we've got on the board now, considering the guys last week only had 2 in similar conditions. So we've worked really hard for these fish and I'm absolutely thrilled to bits. One absolute square of a common. I mean, this thing is going to be huge. Look at the shoulders on him. Can't wait to see him in a year or two. No doubt he's going to be a 50 this one. Let's get some pictures and put him back. Well, that's it for this one, guys. It's certainly been a challenging week here at Lac de Villefond with the weather we've had. Just as we're wrapping up, Rich has caught himself a lovely 40-pounder just to finish the trip off in some style. If you enjoyed the vlog, please remember to click the like and subscribe button. It's really going to help out the channel a ton, and I'll see you on the bank very, very soon.